Welcome back, humor consumers, to the Life Happens, Laugh Anyway podcast. I'm comedian Tracy DeGraff.
And I'm Cathrine.
My bestie.
Hello.
Hello. Cheers.
Bestie.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Yeah, guess what?
What?
We are on episode 18.
Oh, I know.
We're just creeping along.
Mm-hmm.
Come a long way.
Like a train.
Mm-hmm. Whoop, whoop.
Mm-hmm.
Here comes the...
With a cow plow thing on the front.
That's
Just
an
get
old...
out of the way.
Yeah, that's an old train. Gosh, you make me feel old. All right. Well, I'm excited about this episode.
Are you? Why is that?
Because I think that our audience will resonate with it because it's such a common situation.
I agree with you. It's I want the audience to benefit from it, and at the same time I'm slightly uncomfortable.
Sharing?
Well, not sharing so much, but I guess that the topic makes me uncomfortable.
Well, I think that's probably a good place to be because that's how we stretch and we grow.
Yeah.
And we learn.
Which is the reason why I say yes to so many things. So why don't you say what we're going to be talking about?
Well, I'm glad you said yes to doing this podcast.
Yeah.
So this podcast is on the topic of saying no. And the title of the podcast is How to Know When to Say No.
Mm-hmm.
And Cathrine and I, when we were brainstorming our topics, we both agreed that this would be a very good topic for all of our audience. And so we have a couple takeaways that we think you'll glean from this episode. And the first one is we're going to cover how to reduce stress by saying no.
Okay.
And we have evidence from experts on that. That resource that we found information from is the Mayo Clinic. And so they have people that have, smart.
We're kind of experts too, though. I mean, we've lived a long time.
That's true.
We've had to say yes and no many times.
This is very true.
Yeah.
So we're like in the field.
That's right.
They're in the lab.
We're in the trenches.
Yes, we are.
We're the experts.
Okay.
Come on now.
All right. Catherine's getting a little sassy. All right. Our second takeaway is how to be okay with saying no.
Yeah, that one's harder.
That's a hard one, but we're going to cover it. Okay. And then finally, how to have balance with your yes and your no, and doing that with your spiritual life. So we're going to share a really cool scripture verse that we love. But before we get to that.
Oh, wait. Before we get to that, I see what you're getting ready for. We need to say who our sponsors are.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Our sponsors are Muffin and Pooh, which are our husbands. Muffin is hers. Pooh is mine.
Yeah, they have names. Their names are Ronald,
Ron and Kenny.
and Kenneth. Yeah.
Oh, we're going official.
Well, they have all kinds of names. Ronald and Kenneth are their given names, and then
Ronnie.
Yeah, my family calls my husband Ronnie because there's a Ron Sr. and he's a Ron Jr., but most of his friends call him Ron. And then Kenny
is Kenny. There is no Ken Sr., but they just call him Kenny.
Yeah.
Kenny.
Yeah, he's Kenny.
He definitely is not a Kenneth. Which is funny because on everything official, he
says
signs Kenneth James.
Oh, boy.
I'm like, who's that?
All right, so now I'm gonna share my little toy.
She's excited.
I have in my hot little hand. It's a no pen, and it's this chubby, fat little pen with like a speaker on the end of it, and there's a button on it. And when you press the button, here's what happens. And it does it over and over.
No.
They're all different.
We had so much fun with this pen in our job that we had, remember?
Yeah.
Well, we had to be careful.
Tell our listeners how we used this pen in our job when we were working.
Well,
when we made money.
Oh, right.
Remember that?
Well, behind the scenes. So we had a job that it was retail.
Yeah, customer service.
Customer service, and there were a lot of requests,
yes.
and there were sometimes
unreasonable requests.
But we didn't really use it when the unreasonable requests came. It was only with people who we
joke.
knew. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so they would say, "Can we do this?" No. We had a lot of fun.
I said no.
I love it. So that little gadget has been worth its weight in gold. I think we just paid a couple bucks for it at
Oh my gosh, and that was years ago.
Yeah.
Really, because the battery is still good.
I know. Well, I haven't used it that much.
No.
And I just came across it as I was cleaning out my junk drawer situation today.
How the timing
Yeah,
is
I know.
excellent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's jump right in here with our first little segment. We kind of have an outline that we're following. So the first little segment, we're going to talk about stress relief and how and when to say no. And Cathrine and I, we do try to research every topic, and then we come together and share what we learned. And both of us had found this article on the Mayo Clinic website.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll link it in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
So please, read the whole article for yourself. But it's called Stress Release, When and How to Say No.
Right. You look so excited.
I am.
She actually sprang up a little from her seat and her
I
arms
did.
went up. And she reminded me of Amy Pollard for a moment there when she gets all enthusiastic.
Oh, animated.
Yeah.
So why don't you share a couple of the things from this article?
Well, yes, I will do that. But I
Okay.
wanted to start out with, why do I say yes to so many things? Because I'm a yes person.
You are.
Yeah. So I was going to start out with, why do I say yes to so many
Yeah.
things? I did some self-reflection before
Good.
the research for this podcast.
Yeah. Don't start saying no to me. You can say no to everybody else.
It is so funny that you brought that up.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, really.
Tracy has really stretched me, in case you couldn't tell.
I
Maybe.
have? Oh, yes. She doesn't like
Oh, no, I would never do this.
a podcast. No.
No.
And microphones and in front of people and
No,
such.
listening to my own voice. Oh, God. No.
Okay, I will commit to you, Cathrine, that I will not ask you to come on stage and
Oh.
do stand-up comedy.
Well, that's because you wouldn't want me to.
No, I wouldn't.
See?
But I'll make that commitment right now.
Because it's easy to make.
It is.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, like I said, I had some self-reflection. Like, why do I am, like I said, I'm a yes person. And
People pleaser.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Taking
Go
my
ahead. Go
answers.
ahead.
Okay. So, yes, I am a serial people pleaser. I am. So, I have 13 reasons why I say yes. And they're not necessarily in the order of like most important or most relevant, but here they are. I don't like to disappoint people.
Okay.
I don't. I want to meet the expectations of others. And I can't help it. It's just how I feel. I want to meet their expectations. Also, I feel like I should. I feel like I should do it. Oopsie, I'm getting all excited. I'm hitting the spring on the microphone.
That sounded like
Dang. Crambone. Okay.
it sounded like confirmation.
I know. Okay. All right. It feels good to help others.
It does.
I do care, and I truly do. And it feels good to help others. You just feel useful. You feel productive and
Okay.
purposeful and all those things. And this is very true. I'd rather be inconvenienced than someone else being inconvenienced. I would rather, I feel like I could take it. I can be inconvenienced. I don't want that other person to be inconvenienced. That's how I feel. I feel like I can do it. I feel like I could do it all maybe in the moment. I feel that way. It's not true. I can't.
Right.
But I feel that. I do.
So you have a false sense of your own
Abilities. Not abilities.
I think
but
resources. Like you have this false sense of I have the time to do all of this, or I have the capacity to do it.
whatever it is false. That's true. But I feel like it. I feel like I can do that. I can make it work. I could do this before that, and I just
I thought that when I was 10 years old and Dorothy Hamill was all popular and I did one of those spins and broke my leg.
yes,
Yeah. So it's when you have a false sense of yourself, it can lead to a cast on your leg. Or I'm sure.
Or a breakdown.
I'm sure that you've had those times when you've been like, okay, I really had the false sense of I can do this, but I can't do it. And I can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, keep
But
going.
you're already in it when that happens. Anyway.
I know.
I don't like conflict, which kind of goes back to I'd rather myself be inconvenienced. And I don't even think of it as an inconvenience sometimes. Well, okay. Sometimes I do. But I would rather, because I don't like conflict, and I would much rather, like I said, I can take it. You know,
it's so interesting that you would say it, that you would word it that way, because what goes through my mind when I hear you say, don't like conflict, so that's why I say yes to things and I don't say no. I think to myself, well, that's assuming that there would be a conflict if you said no. So you're making an assumption, if that's how you're feeling in a given moment, that there's going to be a conflict here. If I say no, maybe there would be.
In some cases, yeah, I'm not saying in every case, but in some cases, I know that there will be. Amongst, maybe not, I might not be involved with it, but others, I don't want to see others in conflict. So I want to take it away from them.
I see.
See? Okay. In some cases, I feel like I should because it's a challenge. And I want the growth from it. So there are times where, like, I want to challenge myself. Like, there have been times I've said yes to things that were way out of my comfort zone. And I didn't really want to. And I felt like that it was an answer to prayer because it was things like, oh, Lord, I want to be useful. I want to, stretch me, grow me, do whatever. And then these opportunities came up and I was like, yes, I'm scared to death, but I'll do it.
Well, yeah, I get it. And sometimes you have to do that in order to grow.
Yeah.
Step outside of the box.
Right. So the challenge, that's another reason. Another is I compare myself to others. And I know that I shouldn't do that. But when I did this self-reflection, I was like, oh, I think I do that. Like, oh, they can do it.
Yeah.
So can I.
I think that a lot of us do that, don't we? Doesn't everybody? Most people.
Maybe. Yeah.
How would we know? Let's compare ourselves to them.
Yeah. So, but anyway.
Comparison.
Yeah.
That's not
right.
right. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
More.
So I always feel like I'm never doing enough. I just do. I feel like I should be doing more. I'm not really working. So therefore, I'm available to do more. I just have this in me that, like, oh my gosh.
Okay, so because of the fact that you don't have to show up for a job at a certain time and leave at a certain time, you have the sense that you should make yourself available for people.
I say that, but even when I was working part-time or even full-time, I still had that mentality of I felt like I wasn't doing enough. So.
Wow, that's telling, because it almost sounds like, and maybe I'm interpreting it incorrectly, but it sounds like what you're saying is it doesn't matter how much you're doing, it's never enough.
Yeah.
That's a tough state of mind to be in.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you feel bad
You
for
should
me?
think more like Butch. My dad.
I wish I could.
Yeah.
But you can't be who you're not.
This is true.
You just can't.
This is true.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. FOMO.
Yeah.
So FOMO stands for fear of missing out. And I have a little bit of that.
Sure.
I don't want to miss out.
Right.
I don't want to miss out on a blessing.
Right.
I don't want to miss out on something fun.
Right.
And maybe I even don't want to miss out on gosh, I think it goes back to challenge and growth.
Yeah.
In that case.
Gosh, when you were just searching for that word, the word challenge was coming into my mind. Yeah.
See?
I think that's very true, that And it's a noble thought to say, I don't want to miss out on being challenged in a way that I can grow or a way that I can, watch God work or
Exactly.
experience XYZ.
Because like I said earlier, I have said yes to things that I was scared to death. I mean, like almost sick over. But I wanted to grow. And so, that was it. Okay, and so I jotted down. I didn't have this earlier. And I hate to even say it, but it's probably a pride thing too. Pride. And then you had mentioned we were chatting just a little bit. We don't like to tell each other everything that we're going to reveal during the podcast, but we kind of were going over our outline, and the word guilt came up.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that on here, and I'm still uncertain about it. It's funny because we joke about how I have, like, I'm not Catholic, but there's this term, Catholic guilt, you know, that goes around loosely. And we joke about how I have that. But I don't think I do in this case. Maybe I'll have to think about that some more. But I don't feel guilted into things. I think it's self-imposed. Like, I don't really feel like I feel guilty, and that's why, or obligated. I don't think I feel that way.
Either way, I mean, even for any of us, for you or for me or for any of our listeners, if you're saying yes to things out of guilt, or if you're saying yes to things out of pride, those are probably areas that we should look at.
Definitely, because the Bible does say to be a cheerful giver, or to be, when you're doing service, you should be doing it with joy.
Right. And for the Lord.
Absolutely. And I want it to be that. And there is joy in it, for sure.
Yeah.
But there isn't joy when you're overextended and you're burnt out. And I have found myself not even knowing that I was in an overwhelming scenario.
Yeah.
Until one trigger happens, or maybe two, and then I realize, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Then the floodgates.
But it's too late.
Right. Well, that's like the little frog in the pot. He starts out and the water's fine, and then he doesn't notice that it gets turned up, and pretty soon he can't jump out of the pot. And, those are, so all of those things, are you finished with your list, or do you have more?
No, that's it.
Okay. So
that's a lot, though.
It is a lot. And when Cathrine did not read her list to me prior to just now when you all heard it, but she told me ahead of time that she had a list. And I said, look at your list and tell me if any of the things on the list are from God. And, like guilt does not come from God. Pride does not come from God. And some of the other things like feeling, I don't recall now your exact wording, but I mean, I'm speaking for myself now. Like when I say yes to things that I should say no, and it serves me in some manner or form, that doesn't necessarily come from God. I'm not making an absolute statement that everything, that we should say no to everything unless it comes directly from God, But I think it's important for us to recognize and realize that we are limited beings. We have limited time. We have limited energy, limited funds, like each day on our calendar is the only day. That is it.
Right.
Forever.
Right.
You're never going to make more days.
That's right.
That is it.
If only.
Oh. Okay. Well, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing from your personal experience. I think that's helpful, to get into the head of a people pleaser. Okay. All right. Well, anything else to share on that?
No. You know what I was thinking about, though?
What?
When I was kind of contemplating no being a complete sentence.
Yeah.
And how, when we're real young and when we're told no, we're like, why? And how that drains us. And I can remember my dad being so strict, and he always said, because I said so.
Yeah.
That was it. And I feel like, that's because if he had gave a reason, and I would have more
a rebuttal.
begging,
Yeah.
opportunity.
Right.
So then I was thinking about, wow, it is so much easier to just say no and not give an explanation, which we'll get into later, actually, on how to say no. But anyway, it just came into mind. So,
All right. Well, let's go through this little article from mayoclinic.org. Stress relief, when and how to say no. So what did you take from this article, Cathrine?
Well, so why do we have to say no sometimes? Well, because it says here on this article that saying no isn't necessarily selfish. I would like to take out the word necessarily and just eliminate that, because it's not selfish.
Right.
To say no, it should say on occasion it's not it's not selfish. Anyway, when you say no to a new commitment, you're honoring your existing obligations and ensuring that you'll be able to devote high quality time to them.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It is.
Remember when we went to Tennessee and there was that workshop on those two gals that did something about multitasking?
Yes.
And how multitasking is way overrated. A lot of women in particular brag about being able to multitask. But how can you be really good at one thing if you're multitasking? Right.
Well, and there again, you said the word brag, and that's, marinated in pride. So that's not good.
Yeah. So another reason why you should say no, it can allow you to try new things. So just because you've always helped plan the company's softball tournament doesn't mean you have to do it forever. Saying no gives you time to pursue other interests. And it also allows, it doesn't say this on here, but it also allows somebody else to be able to step up, get the experience, and to take over. They can be blessed. They can bless others. So,
well, and that's exactly right. And in this example of a softball tournament, if you do it every year, if you organize the company softball tournament or the family reunion or the women's retreat, if you organize it every year and you have your plan and you have your notes and you do it and you execute it and it comes off seamless and whatever, no one else, what happens if something happens to you?
Yeah, right.
And then the people are like, oh no,
what do
we do?
Yeah.
So it's good training, and those kinds of things were modeled in Scripture. Jesus did that with his disciples. He brought them along, and then his disciples did that with their disciples, brought other people along.
Right.
So we don't have to do it all.
Yeah.
Praise the
You're
Lord.
kind of robbing others of the opportunity.
It is.
To grow and learn. Yeah. So always saying yes isn't healthy. When you're overcommitted and under too much stress, you're more likely to feel run down and possibly get sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. And stress can kill you.
Can actually.
Heart attack, cancer.
Right.
All right.
So another reason why one should say no, saying yes can cut others out, which we just said that.
Right.
So that's kind of repeating what we just
Right. All right. Well, let's look at this next little section. It says when to say no. Sometimes it's tough to determine which activities deserve your time and attention. Use these strategies to evaluate obligations and opportunities that come your way. I think that's one of the things that could be a big blessing for someone listening today. Just those words, evaluate. Like, take time. Don't say yes or no right away.
Yeah.
How many times has somebody come to you with something and you answer immediately? I've done it many times.
Yeah.
I keep. So I think that our answer should always be, let me check.
Yeah.
And then you have to check your schedule based on what everything else is going on. Check your heart. Is this really my responsibility? Is it not? Do I have the capacity to do it? All of that. But if you take the time to evaluate rather than just immediate. So here's a tip. Never give an immediate answer.
Don't you think, too, that the recipient, the person hearing you say, let me think about that, or let me pray on that, don't you think, too, that most likely that person will feel so much better when you come back with your yes and hopefully even your no, because they will hopefully think to themselves, well, they've really decided that no, that they couldn't do it. They're not going to be able to give their all, and perhaps they would appreciate that.
You would hope.
You would
if
hope.
they're a healthy person.
Well, right. I
there
know,
are
that's
some
assuming-
out there that
yeah.
are like, ugh.
Yeah. But then on the other end, if you're saying yes, then that person hearing the yes is like, they've thought about it. They're really going to, put a lot of effort into it or whatever I think that it's more rewarding and more hopefully that the recipient appreciates it more when you've thought about it.
Even another layer to that is managing expectations. So if you're constantly just saying yes, like just off the cuff, not thinking about it, not praying about it, not looking at your schedule, you're just like, sure, yes, sure, yes, sure, yes.
Right.
Then that's an expectation, and people will start to see that as a pattern, and they'll be like, I'm going to ask Cathrine.
Yeah.
Right?
That was actually addressed in one, I don't even know which one it was now, but that was addressed in a site that I was reading. Like, yeah, that, a lot of times you're asked, not necessarily because they think you're the perfect fit, but because you do it.
You're a doer.
You're a doer.
You're 20%er, because 20% of the people
Yeah.
get 80% of the stuff done.
Right.
Do you know, I just recently, our church asked if we would lead something, the thing that's coming up for, what's it called? For Palm Sunday. Some kind of a prayer thing coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was asked by the church, would we be willing to do this, like be part of the leadership of it?
Mm-hmm.
And my initial response was, yes, of course. But they were asking on behalf of me and my husband. And I finally, after over 30 years of marriage, I thought, let me ask him.
Yeah.
And let me be okay if he just doesn't want to do it for whatever reason.
Another thing you're good about, too, is I recall when you got that request that you also said, I need to find out more about it.
Right. I need more details.
That's what you said
Right.
to me when you were, discussing it.
Right.
And we should all do that. We should all find out more details before you're in it, right?
Yeah, because I've learned the hard way that sometimes, and I could have a million examples of this, where you say yes to something and you think it's going to be this little commitment. It turns into more and more and more. So by getting more information before saying yes, first of all, by saying, let me check. And then getting the information. What time do I have to be there? What time is it going to be over? What do I have to do while I'm there?
What do you expect?
Do I have to prep for it? How much of a commitment are we making here? Even when I've been leading Bible studies in the past, I like to have an end date to the Bible study so that people have a manageable expectation. It's going to start on this date. It's going to end on this date.
Yeah.
That's the commitment. I don't like these like forever going things because they just seem to I don't know what happens. They just keep going. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, focus. Let's see. Where were we? How to say no? No, we were on focus on what matters most. Examine your obligations and priorities before making any new commitments. Ask yourself if the new commitment is important to you, and if it's not, it's okay. If it's not. Another bullet point here is to weigh the yes to stress ratio. I like that.
Yeah.
It rhymes. Kind of.
Yeah.
It says, it is the new activity you're considering a short or long-term commitment. For example, making a batch of cookies for the school bake sale will take far less time than heading up the school fundraising committee. That's for sure. Don't say yes if it will mean months of added stress.
Which is what you were basically just talking about.
Yes, and who can't relate to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Instead, look for other ways to pitch in. Okay. Another bullet point we've already talked about, take guilt out of the equation. Don't agree to a request you would rather decline out of guilt or obligation. Doing so will likely lead to additional stress and resentment.
And that's the worst. When you
It
have
is.
resentment, when you say yes to something, and then you start to, you start to fester resentment and things like that. That's just the worst.
It is.
You know?
Another like really difficult thing with saying yes is if there's a long time before the commitment is going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Right.
So like if somebody says to you, Catherine,
Yeah.
will you go skydiving with me in a year?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, okay, yes.
Yeah.
And then it comes and then you're terrified, right?
It's funny, the commitment, right?
Yeah.
So I sometimes joke about like, I don't like to commit to anything. Even though I'm a yes person, I'm definitely a yes person, but I don't like to commit to things that are far out. I always joke about how I'm surprised I'm married. It's a huge commitment. It is forever.
It is.
And so it kind of cracks me up because it is, commitment I take it seriously.
Yeah.
And so that's why if I'm going to commit, I'm going to commit. It's going to be long term.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and here's the next bullet point is sleep on it.
yeah.
So just kind of like my little tip of don't ever say yes or no right away.
Mm-hmm.
Sleep on it. Are you tempted by a friend's invitation to volunteer at your old alma mater or to join a weekly golf league? Before you respond, take a day to think about the request and how it fits in with your current commitments. If you can't sleep on it, at least take the time to think the request through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's more like a how to say no rather than when, but I guess I could transfer that to say come up with your answer after. I don't know.
Well, it's just a good tip. It's just
sleep on
it's
it.
a good tip for those who are struggling with being people pleasers, with being yes people, whatever. Don't answer right away. Don't overcommit yourself. Give yourself the time to really think about it, pray about it, talk to other people who might be affected by your decision.
Yeah, that's a real good one. Yeah, that should be on there. Well, that might be on the how.
That's because we're experts in the field.
Right.
These people are in a lab somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you go over the how to say no bullets?
Okay. So I'm going to read after how to say no. No. See how simple it is to say one little word, allowing you to take a pass on tasks that don't make the cut? Of course, there will be times when it's just not that easy. Here are some things to keep in mind when you need to say no. Say no. The word no has power. Don't be afraid to use it. Be careful about using wimpy substitute phrases such as, I'm not sure,
Yeah.
or I think I can. These can be interpreted to mean that you might say yes later. And I'm just going to add to this is not on there, that absolutely, that is so true. If you leave leeway for someone to find an end, to talk you into saying yes, they're going to find it. Especially those people that are really good at the art.
They're the salesmen out there.
Yeah. And I've been in those situations
I know.
where I've given a lengthy explanation or any explanation at all. And then they pluck something out of there and they find like a solution for you that you don't want or need.
They overcome your argument.
That's exactly
That's what the salesman does.
That's exactly right.
I can't afford
find
it.
that solution
Well,
for
I'll
you.
break it into 12 easy payments. That's the salesman.
Right. Oh gosh.
Because really, when you're in that discussion with someone, they've asked you for something, you want to say no, but you don't want to say no.
Yeah.
But you have to say no. But you can't say no.
But they make it harder for you to say no when you give an explanation.
I'll tell you what, they don't care. All they want is you to say yes.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
They have a need. You can fill the need.
Yeah.
They want you on their committee, or they want you to give the money, or they want you to do whatever. And so they don't care about your excuses. You can give them an excuse and they're going to overcome it with, well, that ain't no thing.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to do that for your husband. He's going to stay married to you.
Right.
He's committed.
Right.
Divorces are expensive.
Yeah. Oh, so that goes into the next bullet point, be brief.
Oh, yeah.
Which is what
Just
I was
no.
just saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to read it anyway. State your reason for refusing their request. I say no. Don't state your reason. But don't go on about it. Avoid elaborate justifications or explanations, which we just said.
You know, I've sometimes added to the no. I've preceded it with I'd love to, but I can't.
Yeah, that's good.
Even if I can't because I won't, not
Mhm.
because I really truly can't.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to, but I can't.
I think you have to know your requester too, the person asking you.
Yeah.
If you know that even if you say, I'd love to, if you know that person will say, oh, well, if you'd love to, like they find an in.
I know.
They just do.
I know.
So good at
They're
it.
like ants. They find little
Worse.
crevices.
They're like water
Yeah.
in a little crack.
Yeah.
I guess that'd be like an ant, but anyway.
Okay, keep going.
All right. Be honest. Don't fabricate reasons to get out of an obligation. The truth is always the best way to turn down a friend, family member, or coworker.
Yeah.
Another way on how you can say no is be respectful. Many good causes may land at your door, and it can be tough to turn them around. I'm trying to talk or read beyond this big microphone that's in the way. Complimenting the group's effort while saying that you can't commit shows that you respect what they're trying to accomplish. Okay, taking my glasses off now. And also another bullet point, be ready to repeat. I hate this part. I hate repeating myself, whether it's my kids, whether
That's when you get out the pen.
No. Yeah, no.
And you just keep pressing the button until they go away. You could even close your eyes.
You have to admit, though, you don't like it either, repeating yourself.
No, I don't.
I know you don't. I mean, most of us don't.
I raised 5 boys.
Right.
How many times did I say no to them?
Right.
I'm still doing it. They're grown.
That's right.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to repeat themselves. No. It just wears on you, and the person knows it.
Yeah.
Anyway, you may need to refuse a request several times before the other person accepts your response. When that happens, just hit the replay button.
See?
Yeah.
Told you.
Calmly repeat your no, with or without your original rationale as needed. So saying
Be strong.
Be strong. Saying no won't be easy if you're used to saying yes all the time.
This is true.
Oh my goodness, so true. But learning to say no is an important part of simplifying your life and managing your stress. And with practice, you may find saying no gets easier.
That's what when Cathrine and I were discussing this prior to coming on, that's one of the things that I felt like would be very helpful for anyone who struggles with saying no is to practice hearing yourself say the word no and practice it out, saying it out loud. So if this is you, if you struggle with a friend or your husband or a child or whatever, and do just kind of like a mock trial. Oh, there's Catherine's phone. I got an idea.
Yeah.
We can't figure out how to make it not do that. So just do like a mock trial and have let's say, for example, that it's the church is always contacting you to work in the nursery or bake stuff or whatever the thing is, and you want to say no, but you're having a hard time with it. Practice the conversation. Ring, ring, it's the church.
Yeah.
Would you work in the nursery? And then you would say,
I would say, well, my normal response? Well, let me think about it, right?
well, what would you say now that you have this enlightenment from the Life Happens, Laugh Anyway podcast?
Well, I would still say, let me think about it.
Okay.
Let me think about it, is what I would say. And then I would come back with...
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time.
What would you come back with?
I'm having a hard time saying no, even in a practice run.
No. See what I mean?
Okay, I'm going to interrupt.
Okay.
I don't understand. Why? I never had a problem saying no, like with peer pressure.
Like when
I
you were a
was
kid,
youth,
when people were trying to get you to smoke pot and stuff like that.
even,
Oh, is this the confession time?
no, even now,
Okay. You have peer
So-
pressure now in your 50s? Peer
everybody
pressure.
does.
Peer
you,
pressure?
you do too. Don't
Really? Okay.
you don't?
I don't know. Do I?
Of course you
What
do.
am I pressured by my peers to do?
Okay,
Lose weight? No. Obviously not.
I'm not gonna answer that.
I fit in my car.
But the thing is that I've never had a problem with like peer pressure and saying no
Mhm.
when I really am uncomfortable with things like that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, but with like service type things,
Right.
I have a really hard time saying no.
So, see, just doing our little example that we were role playing there.
Yeah, I can't even
She
do it.
couldn't say no.
Well,
You couldn't say no to the nursery to the church.
well, well, we talked about saying, let me think about it.
Right,
Don't
but
you remember?
Yes, but then we said, then what would you say? And that's when you started to say, oh,
Well, in our role play, I could say
just say no, Catherine.
no. But in real life,
It's hard.
yeah, I'm struggling. See?
All right. Oh, friends, we really want to help with this topic, and we're hopeful that some of our information is helpful.
I hope so.
Yeah, because we have to get there. We cannot be yes people all the time.
That's right.
We just can't be.
No.
All right. Well, what else do we have to share?
Well, we already talked about the challenge, did we?
Oh,
Or did we?
wait. I know. I wrote
Oh.
down this note that I wanted to
What
share
do you
this.
have over there?
Well, remember, I thought of something and I said, I don't want to say it until we're on the recording.
I do remember.
Okay. So, as Catherine knows, and our listeners may or may not know, that I'm the mother of 5 sons. Okay.
Mhm.
I had a child every other year throughout the whole 90s.
Mm,
And then I was raising them, right? Through all the 2000s.
you could say that.
I'm still kind of raising them, a couple of them. During that period of time, I never, like for 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
I never felt like any kind of sense of guilt or obligation to saying yes to meals for other people.
You didn't.
Nope.
You
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other one was adopting those compassion international things. I mean, how many events did we go to? And
Yeah.
the little adoptees come through. I always said no to the meals and the adoption because I had my own little tribe to feed.
And remember when the big wave of the foreign exchange student thing came through?
Oh yeah. And I said no.
Here's
No.
Catherine with a Japanese foreign exchange student.
Right, because I
remember-
told her no.
I remember you saying, "Oh, I have no problem with saying
Right.
no." But yeah,
Because my house was full.
do you remember how stressed out I was after?
Yes, I do remember that.
He was a good kid. I mean, he really was.
Yeah.
But I was just so stressed out because my son didn't meet the expectations I had to be a good host.
Yeah.
And my son's a real good kid
Yeah.
too. It's just that it just didn't go the way I had it in my head.
Well, and the reason that I bring that to this podcast is because there are oftentimes things that would be a blessing to say yes to. They could bless other people. But if you're struggling to put food on your own table, you really don't have to put food on somebody else's table. Right? I mean, God will find someone else to meet that need the other way, you know?
Yeah.
That's just been my feeling. Maybe that's wrong thinking. I don't think it is. I think that's right. I mean,
I think every situation is unique to the circumstances and individuals, and I think every situation is truly different.
yeah.
And I think it has to go back to what is really important for you and your family and what's really important for the possible recipient, possibly.
Well, and I think
mean-
sometimes it just comes down to a resource.
That too.
You know,
right.
because it could be important regardless of the resources. It could be an important task. It could be a worthy cause. But if you don't have the fuel in the tank, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have the time, the energy, the money, whatever it is to
Mhm.
provide the thing,
Mm-hmm.
give yourself permission to say no and not worry about it and not feel guilty about it.
I guess sometimes I question, like, do I have the resources? Do I have? Tracy just crossed her eyes.
Jeez. That's exhausting.
I do. I think about that. Like, she did it again. Because it just goes back to, it just goes back to that self-reflection, that questioning myself. Like, do I have the resources? Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
But sometimes you need a friend who will remind you of your limitations. And
So I got you.
I know. What was the obligation? Was it cleaning the church?
Oh, well, there's been a few.
I thought it was.
Are
I thought
you
it was
talking
the
about-
nursery, but maybe it was cleaning the church.
Are you talking about, so like when I was starting to really have to step up more with helping my mom, and I was overwhelmed with stuff with my dad?
Whatever it was, there was a lot on your plate,
Yeah.
and I don't recall all of the details.
Mhm.
But this I know.
Mm-hmm.
I called the church and I said, no, Cathrine is not available. Whatever it was, I told them you need to be taken off the list.
You were actually with me. You were right there present in the moment. Like, we just got done with prayer,
Okay.
and you were actually standing there, and you said, she can't do this.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you didn't stop me
No, that's true.
from
Right.
intervening for you. And some people might listen to that and think, well, she's so bossy. But
no.
well, I might be sometimes a little bit bossy, but I knew that you were being crushed under a weight of other responsibilities.
Yeah.
You needed some margin on your page.
Yeah. Well, I think really what I would say about that is, you know, my weaknesses.
Yeah.
And then when you see me weak like that, and then you just are stronger. But there's been times where I've seen you in weak
Definitely.
moments, and I've tried to be like strong for you.
Oh, definitely.
You know
And
what I
you've
mean?
seen me take on way too much, too.
Yeah.
How many times was I spinning 85 plates?
Gosh, those years
Yeah.
with the coffee news and so
yeah.
forth. Anyway, you know what I was going to say too? I was thinking
My head hurts.
another time that I didn't realize I needed someone to step in. And it was, do you remember right after I got my gallbladder taken out?
Yeah.
I was going to have company, and I was screaming. I mean, I was in pain.
She was swearing.
I was swearing. I was.
She was.
And to Tracy,
What did I do?
you called everybody on the list?
Did I? Did I
Yeah.
tell them to stay home?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. But see,
Oh, I do.
everybody needs a friend like me. I'm like the mother you never had.
And I just, I couldn't do it. So, and I didn't ask, like, it's not like you just knew.
Well,
Like, you
yeah,
just knew.
because you're laying on the
I
couch.
couldn't move.
I remember your arm being up like this or something, and you just having words come out. Like, oh
Well,
no.
I remember that I couldn't even think about moving like a nerve muscle.
Yeah.
Nothing, because the pain was because I had trapped gas from the.
Yeah,
from
and
the
you thought you
procedure.
could be the hostess with the mostest, and
I-
people could come over
Like
and
I said, I feel like I can.
yeah.
Oh well.
Well, I guess that just goes to show you that we've been there, friends,
Mm-hmm.
and we are there. And we really don't know. Like, okay, so here our second point here, our second takeaway, is how to be okay with saying no.
Oh yeah.
And Cathrine and I were talking about this. We really want to share with you how you can be okay with saying no, but unfortunately, we don't have the answer to that.
Yeah. I felt like even when I was looking into it, it fell short
Mm-hmm.
of some solid peace of mind
Mm-hmm.
that would be suitable for people who really struggle with saying no. And
You kn-
but you had a really good thought on that. Why don't you share that?
What was it? Remind me.
Oh, darn it.
You can't remember either.
Well, I think that you had said some kind of when you're overwhelmed. Like you talked about when you're overwhelmed.
Oh, yeah.
And how good can you be to someone else? I think
Well, I think I was talking about when there are certain seasons in our lives, and I believe that we should say no to everything. And we should give ourselves permission to say no. And one of those seasons is when you're grieving the loss of someone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if someone close to you has passed and you just need to say no to everyone and everything for a period of time so that you can sit on the couch and, you know, do your nails and look through pictures of loved ones, look at old slides. Like you've been doing a lot of that since your dad passed. Or go back through and read text messages or emails or whatever the case may be. If you just need that time, do nothing.
Yeah. Do you recall that I was doing that for a while? I said, I don't understand why I'm doing it. I just have to do this. And I was going through letters.
Yeah.
Just tons and tons of letters that my parents had kept that were to each other. And in particular, overseas letters. My mom's from England. And so there were a lot of letters. And I just was reading. I just had to do it.
I think that when we're in the grieving process, we don't know how much time we're going to need.
That's right.
And so if we take on other commitments, even if it's something good under a different season, we just need to give ourselves permission to just not do that.
Yeah.
You know, years ago, remember when they used to wear like the black band?
Yes.
Like on It's a Wonderful Life.
I don't remember because I didn't live it, but I know that they did. Yeah.
And in the Bible, they talk about wearing sackcloth and ashes. And so grieving is just one season of life that in years past, cultures would acknowledge it externally.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, we've gotten rid of those things.
I wish that we still had that. Like it's a sign to say to people, pass.
Yeah.
Give me a pass.
Yeah.
Because I need it. Because I'm grieving. And it's like you said, an outward expression of I'm grieving. I need to pass that.
You need extra love, extra grace, extra time, whatever. So I think grieving is one example of a season of time. And also with children, we go through these different seasons with kids. So we have them when they're infants, and then we have toddlers, and then we have elementary students, and then the dreaded teenage years, and then they're almost adults. They look like adults, but they don't act like adults. Then they're actually adults, and then it's even more scary. So you have all these different seasons of life as a parent. There might be some times in there when you're going through something that you don't necessarily want to put out, you know, on Facebook and everybody knows your business, but give yourself permission to say no to the other stuff, the stuff that other people can do for now.
Yeah.
Even if no one steps up, so what? Just give yourself permission to say no.
Even if someone else steps up. You know what I just thought of? I could add to my list. That's a possibility of why I say yes.
What?
Control.
Oh.
I wonder, actually. It just came to me.
Well, if I'm sure that it could be a factor for some things.
It might be. I don't know.
Well, we want to be okay with saying no.
Yeah.
And I think probably the best advice that we could give is do not say yes or no right away, which we've already covered. Say, let me check, and then check in with the Lord. I think that's the best. That's, we're always doing that anyway. Just point to Jesus, have some prayer over the situation. And if you really feel like he's saying that you need to say yes, then say yes. But if he's telling you to say no, if you just feel it in your spirit, and I almost hate that kind of language because it sounds like, well, how do you hear something in your spirit?
I was just going to say that if any of listeners have questions on that, just contact us and we can kind of expound on that.
Well, we can share our experience. And I guess it's more like a gut feeling. Let's call it that. Let's say if you pray about it, okay? And because you're not going to hear an audible voice. I mean, I've been a Christian for 35 years. I haven't yet heard an audible voice. I'm waiting. You're not going to hear an audible voice. If you do, definitely email me, call me,
Yeah.
tell me.
Right.
I want to know. But you might just feel in your gut like this is wrong for me right now. I need to say no to this right now. That could be an answer to your prayer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how else to say it. So listen to the Lord and then obey.
Mm-hmm.
And then tell the person no. Just text them. It's easier. Sorry, can't do it.
You should call.
Or text.
Yeah.
Either one.
Okay.
All right. Well, are we ready to move on to our final point?
Yes, we are.
All right. Chiz. Oh, I
So
see
we
it.
were-
I see it. It's how
We already
it's a scripture.
Yeah.
Matthew chapter
Okay.
5.
Matthew 5:37, and it's
Mhm.
nice and simple, just like your nose should be.
Yes.
So, the scripture is, all you need to say is simply, and this is Jesus speaking. So I'll start over. All you need to say is simply yes or no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one.
Mm.
So
So
it's a little bit about what you were just talking about.
right.
Ask the Lord if
Right.
you should take this on, do this service, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Wait for an answer.
Well, we're hopeful that that was helpful
Yeah.
in some way.
Right. Did we give them the challenge?
No, let's give them the call to action and the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Cathrine would, well, do you want to tell them what you said and then I'll tell them what I said?
Well, I said that I would like the listeners to really, what did I say? Oh my
Focus.
goodness. Yeah, yeah.
On what matters.
To really focus on.
Remember?
Yes, I do. Just like bringing it up.
Focus, Cathrine.
To
Focus.
focus on what really matters, because sometimes when someone says, well, prioritize, well,
No, yeah.
allow, for some of us it's not that easy, just that simple word. But I think when it's reworded on just focus, really think about what is really important to
Mhm.
you and your family and
Mhm.
those, whatever whoever is affected by your decision. Focus on that.
Yeah.
And then, prioritizing starts to come into more focus after that.
Right.
But that was what I said, that
Right.
I would like to have people kind of take that challenge or step.
I think that's a good challenge. And my practical step,
No. Get your no pen.
it's, get yourself a no pen. I really do believe that doing that exercise of practicing saying no out loud and hearing, you have to hear the sound of your own voice saying no to someone. And the more you do that, the better you'll become.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only caveat to that is I don't think that it's really right for us to say no to things that are our responsibility. So,
For sure not.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is the one caveat here. We're not saying say no to things that you really are legitimately responsible for,
Right.
but this is more for
Like feeding your baby.
Right. Yeah. Don't say no to that. Let's see. Let me think about it. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
But I think that once you've done Catherine's call to action and you have focused on what really matters to you, then do my call to action. Get a friend, get some other human being who will sit with you and do a role play where you can practice hearing your own self say the word no.
Mm-hmm.
And have that person kind of bait you a little bit so you can really get some practice. And then practice it in real life. How about that?
Sounds good. Good idea.
All right. What is our topic for the next episode? I didn't write it down on our sheet.
Oh, darn. Let's look at
Yeah.
it. Oh, we guess we did. We looked it up.
I know, but I didn't write it down on my little
Oopsies.
my sheet there, so I have to look it up again.
Yeah, I'll do that too. Just see. It is worry. It's on worry.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Are we going to do the Dale Carnegie?
Dale Carnegie.
Okay, so if you're not familiar with Dale Carnegie, he's passed away, but he was an awesome author, and he wrote a book called Stop Worrying and Start Living, something like that. Is that the name of it?
Yeah, it is.
Stop
Was
worrying and start living.
So now we had a podcast that we did on, it wasn't about worry, but did we do one on anxiety?
No, the only other one we did in that
what
realm.
keeps you up at night?
Yeah, we did that, but that was more insomnia.
Yeah,
but
well, okay.
We did the one on change. Who moved my cheese?
You know, in my notes for episode 6, which was what keeps you up at night, I do have in my notes Dale Carnegie, Book About Worry.
Oh. Well, anyway, we're going to do that next time. So that's going to be episode number 19.
Woo!
I know, we're getting there.
Yeah.
Well, you've been listening to the Life Happens Laugh Anyway podcast, and I still am comedian Tracy DeGraff.
I'm still Cathrine.
All right, we'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.